Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of my podcast, Goals Do Come True. This morning, I'm joined by Sarah Bloxham of Let's Talk Mortgages and Insurance. She's based over in New Zealand, in Auckland, and Sarah saw me speak at a conference when I was doing a little bit of a tour of New Zealand and Australia. I did a couple of speaking engagements there. She saw me speak and reached out to have a chat. And so we've been pretty regular contact, almost on a week-by-week basis since, when was it, Sarah?
I think it was about April 2018, Doug.
May 2018. So that's a good couple of years. So what I've been doing is along the way, I've been helping Sarah with her business. Basically, she was up against it, I think, when we first met. I think that's fair to say. And we've had some chats and I've helped her along the way. I think it's very important that if you can, you get yourself an accountability buddy, somebody to support you. So Sarah, anyway, it's not about me. Well, sometimes it is, of course. So tell me your story and how goals have formed a part of the process to help you achieve the work that you're doing at Let's Talk Mortgages and Insurance.
Well, firstly, thanks for having me on your podcast, Doug. It's pretty exciting, especially all the way from New Zealand. And I do promise to talk a bit slower because you know I talk quite fast for other people to get what I'm saying. Goals. I think when we met, which was, I think, maybe May, June 2018, I had goals and they weren't going anywhere. And it was quite a struggle. And I know a lot of your people talking, I'm in the mortgage and insurance industry. Sometimes you do need what you call an accountability buddy. And I'm a very, very independent person. And it takes a huge amount for me to ask someone for help. That was the biggest thing for me, actually going to a conference. I'd linked with you on LinkedIn first because I like to know speakers. And when you talked, I was like, hold on a minute, I know this guy's accent. And it turns out you live just a few miles from where I used to also live in Crawley and Three Bridges in West Sussex, England. So that's unbelievable. So I reached out to you. You talked really well on stage. It was unbelievable listening to your talk. I could definitely listen to that talk quite a few times, which I have. It's all over the net anyway to listen to. I decided to take the courage to reach out to you, which I can honestly say I've never done to anyone in my whole life. And we just started talking. And it was about setting goals. That conference where you spoke, there's a little black notebook. And I've got my little black notebook. We said about writing down in the notebook some your goals. And as you walked off the stage, I remember coming to you and saying, hey, have you got any of those little black notebooks that are probably worth £1 at the local shop, right? And so you said yes, and you gave me your last little notebook. And I've still got it here in my hand, which is really cool. So do you want me to read out what's in there, Doug, that I wrote down on that day?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let's just have a look. I'll read them out and we can go back to them, okay? So you write them in the current tense as if you are there now. That was my big thing. You don't say I want to be, it's I am. So I wrote, I am an MDRT member. So MDRT is the top insurance advisors in the world. And I'd only just started doing insurance, which is called risk. I have 2 holidays a year. Well, I work far too much to have 2 holidays a year, so I knew I had to do that. I cook regularly. I don't find time for cooking, and I need to. I get weekends away. I am appreciated. I can breathe. I have a new office. I have an assistant. I have balance. So that was what I wrote on May, whatever what month it was in 2018 when we met. And it was only recently where you started to talk about these again, where I thought, where's that book? And I went looking everywhere for it. It's similar to yourself, where you refound the list and I went, wow, I am an MDRT member. I do have 2 holidays a year, even if some of them are in New Zealand. I do get weekends away. I've got a fabulous office because I went from the bottom of everything where I thought I was going to sell my car to try and have money to feed the family. It was pretty bad until I reached out to you. And now I've got a massive, lovely office. I do have a full-time assistant who I call my client manager, and she's a good team member. Balance, I'm still probably trying it, but I would say 70% of these things I've achieved, and you're looking back and going, oh, I am those things. So yeah,
Okay, so that's very interesting. I mean, because there's some big goals in there, to get an office, to get a full-time assistant when you're, for want of a better word, on your arse as far as...
I was so on my arse, so on my arse.
It's like, and I know you were telling me you were thinking of selling your car to get the equity out of the car to make ends meet.
Yeah, it was that bad. I'd already borrowed, I don't borrow money also, and I'd already borrowed some money. I was mortgaged as far as I could go, and the business had gone flat. And I'd paid for my trip to Australia for the conference where I met you, so I still went. It was all paid for. And so I met you. It was all those little things in life that led to be, you know. I met you, came back, and then we started engaging. But those goals, they are huge. None of them are little.
And you think, sometimes you think, well, it's just not possible. It's just not possible. But the madness is, you just need to write them down. Now, I know that you've had a couple of other successes along the way. So would you like to tell me about some of the awards that you've won over the last couple of years? Now, I know that question wasn't on the list that we sent you, so I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but I find it quite interesting to hear some of your other successes along the way.
Thank you. It's been interesting. I'm definitely a person who likes to strive to achieve things. When I do anything, I don't just want to be one of the pack. I want to be the best. And that way, when you take clients on, they can see, wow, she's got this or she's got that. So it was pretty soon, and I'm not the youngest in the pack either. So that's another thing. You're showing the younger ones that you can actually do anything. You've just got to push yourself. Most of the awards you've got to put yourself forward for. Some of them take a lot of effort. In 2018, I got New Advisor of the Year. And then I got another award in 2018 for my area. In New Zealand, I got Rising Star for the whole of New Zealand, for Financial Advice New Zealand, which is all advisors in New Zealand are under this body. And then for my head group, what do you call the head group in the UK?
It's called a network. A network.
Yes, I got the Rising Star for my network as well in 2019. And then I also got second in New Zealand for mortgages and insurance for the network I was under at the time. So there's like the wall is getting quite full of, which is pretty exciting. And then you can also get awards for how much mortgages you do every year. It's interesting when you look at these and then you go, well, what do they mean? And I Facebook Live every single week on my Facebook page. None of us would be there without the clients and them knowing that you're doing it all for them, because I love it, but I get a real buzz out of getting people into property because I do mortgages, and into insurance because they're covered in case something happens. And it's that whole circle going around. So the awards are truly fantastic, but it is about the person in the end, you know?
So I'm excited for you as well, because, I know I've had a little bit of a nudge along the way just to help you on that. So vicariously winning those awards with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, you are. And it has been truly, truly lovely every weekend. And when you go on holiday, it's like, oh my gosh, I missed Doug. And because we have our talks as, at least once a weekend as you're walking the dogs and talking about just life and stuff and what's happening along the way. And I'm sure every now and then I'm encouraging you and stuff, right?
Absolutely. It's a two-way street. I mean, if you're a mentor and you help people, then you've got to up your game as well. You can't really let it slip. So, that's one of the things that's helped me along, is like, I know I need to be on top of my game. Now, you wrote your goals down back then. Do you still write them down? Have you got some bigger ones now? Because obviously you've tested the philosophy and it works. So now have you got some bigger goals on that list as a result?
I have. I've written another list actually last month. They're fairly similar but a bit bigger. But I was thinking about more yesterday when we were going to have this podcast, because I didn't want to plan our talking. I wanted our talking just to be free. And every year I do a set amount of people I try and target, and that I want to get 50 people into homes and that sort of thing. And so I've been talking to Helena, my client manager, about setting that goal for next year. And we're yet to come up for that number, but we'll do that in the next month for a target for next year. So it's not about dollars, it's about people into homes. And I think that makes a real difference. People are so wanting the help, which is really cool for us to know we're making a difference. I need to write it down. We will write it down. Other things that's happening in New Zealand, and where I'm ahead of it, and it's writing the goals down, is New Zealand, our financial industry is changing next March, and I'm already ready for it now, and we're still in 2020. And that was all part of writing it down and saying to Helena, I want to be ready way ahead of everybody else, because then I don't worry about it. And that's already ticked off, which is quite exciting.
That's good. So, there's all different, I can sense that you're using the goal setting for various different aspects of your life, really. Not only helping a certain number of people, which is great, but also improving your own personal life, getting that work-life balance, sort of having the weekends away, having holidays. I know it's a little bit difficult at the moment, but it's still possible. If it's a goal, it's still possible to physically get away. So I think people should bear that in mind.
So I'll tell, one of the things I've really tried to set my business up for, or two things actually, is I don't talk to any clients in the weekend. Lately, I've talked to clients on Sunday night, which you're very aware of, because sometimes that's our talking time. And it's just being available, but people know that I need time off as well, especially my throat, because I have at least 15 meetings a week. So when you're having all these meetings, you do need some downtime for me or for my teenagers, regroup myself. But yeah, I've planned my business right from the start to not work weekends. And I know I did a few in the first year and then I just knocked it on the head. Before COVID, we were 95% on Zoom anyway. So when people come up with this word pivot, which I actually do not like, I've come up with a better one, swivel. Swivel sounds so much better. So I didn't have to swivel my business because we were already on Zoom. The processes were already there. I'd probably be 1% of people come into my office when they're more than welcome, but they just don't need to. And it's teaching them that this is nice and easy. You can stay home, or sometimes two people will be at their different offices or places of work. One might be home working, one might be office, and you can get it. And that's all part of your business. It gives me my life back. And so that's probably the goals and focus of the business as well, is to grow, but to be fine tuning it the whole time of how we're prepared for clients and what happens after I've Zoomed them and how we look after them along the way.
Okay, and part of that, the important part, which, when we get excited, when you run your business and you're excited about it and you get carried away, you have to remember about that work-life balance aspect of things. So getting your weekends back is like really, I'm pleased about it, and it's something we speak about on a regular basis, because it's like, Doug, I can't talk to you, I'm on a Zoom meeting, and it's like, no, Sarah, it's the weekend. And
you recall I'm also a marriage celebrant, so the weddings have gone right down because of COVID, but also because I've pulled back on marketing and that side. And it's going to be interesting for me after 11 years of doing weddings and mortgages and insurance to be doing not so many weddings and getting my weekends back, because trying to find, one of the things on the list was finding that bit of balance.
Yeah, and balance is important, everybody. It's one of the most important things. You work, you lose things along the way. Normally human beings, if you're working too hard, and nobody wants to do that. So Sarah, I've got another question for you. They talk about these things called big, hairy, audacious goals. They're called BAG. Now, are you in the middle of one right now? Have you set yourself some big, hairy goals that you're working toward that you'd like to share with us?
I have actually, and it only came about in the last couple of weeks, which I've sort of said to you on our walks, but it's just become a bit more refined now. And it does need written down, but Helena, who's my client manager, is very aware of it. And normally every 1st of April to 31st of March, we do a set $1 million, however many $1 million of loans. And that's been fairly similar for the last couple of years. And all of a sudden, because this year is so mental busy with people buying, I've already done that number. About 2 weeks ago, it's ticked over into that number. So now I've just decided, right, well, my standard that is normally for 31st of March is going to be doubled. And that's the number that we're now heading for 31st of March next year. So not only is it good for the business and growing the business, but it's really good for people into houses. So it wins 2 of those goals, That's pretty cool, eh, Doug?
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a huge goal. It's like a really big number for someone 5 years in business. I know a lady and another advisor in New Zealand. She's been in for business about 15 years, and she's fairly close to that number I'm aiming for.
The madness of it all is once you set the goal up, and you've told your subconscious how much it wants to be, how big it wants to be, all of a sudden it starts looking out for the information that you need to be able to achieve that goal. And that's the craziness of it all. That is the crazy thing. It's like, unless you tell your subconscious what it is that you want, it's just going to wander around aimlessly, pulling things in. Sometimes it will pull things in that don't make any sense, or certainly aren't going to take you towards anywhere meaningful. So I think the important thing is here, people, is get your goals. First off, write them down, because that does a connection to your brain. So that's the first thing. And then that will open the doors and open up the opportunities for you to actually find the things that you need to be able to achieve them. So
do you want me to tell you another goal, Doug? Another one. I got my red new car, a brand new car in a pandemic. That's not too bad, is it?
A brand new car
in a pandemic.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so again, another thing, everybody's worrying about the world coming to an end. If you've got something to look past, something to look at, something to aim for, it helped. I think it helped. But that's brilliant. Yeah, I've seen pictures of the car. It's a lovely car. It's so very, very you, Sarah. It's so very, very you.
And it's red, Doug. It's red.
It's red to go with the Let's Talk Mortgages and Insurance logo.
So no, it's so the journey knowing you has been awesome. You're a really good friend in my life now. And but life, one of the things I listened to all your podcasts so far is about taking opportunities. And you can look back, and at that time in that conference, I could have not come up and talked to you, and then the world would be my world would be a way different place. But you can only try and talk to people, and we're all here. Like, I know there's going to come a time where I help other people like you have, because you pass it on, as well as writing down the goals. I've also got to take opportunities to progress your personal life and your work life, right?
When they come your way, that is part of it. They will come your way. And it's very easy to say, I'm not ready, or I can't do. But a couple of the earlier podcasts, and if you haven't heard them, check out David's podcast, Do What You Can't, Amanda Cassar's podcast, where things were thrown her way and she just did them. She just grabbed them. Yeah, absolutely right. So that would be the thing I would suggest. These opportunities will come your way, and they're designed to come your way, and there's a reason for it. So you must take your opportunities. Now, we're just coming towards the end of our time together, Sarah. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the world? We're in the same game, I do the mortgages and the insurance as well as absolutely everything else that I do, and you do it as well, but we're not in competition, because I don't do any mortgages for anybody in New Zealand, but
and I don't do them for the UK either.
And you don't do them in the UK, so there's no competition there. So you can have a shameless plug of what you do, so that you can share this with all of your clients, and maybe that we can shamelessly, on both sides, they can see that you've been on a podcast, and I can get more listeners.
Yay. Well, everyone knows I'm Sarah from Let's Talk Mortgages and Insurance. I think one of the coolest thing I love doing is my live posts every week and teaching people, and whether they see another advisor or me, obviously I'd like them to see me, but it's about educating people. And that's probably why I was originally called Yes Home Loans, and for 2 years, and then I rebranded to Let's Talk Mortgages and Insurance. And it's about talking, but it's also about me zipping it sometimes and listening. And you can hear some cool stuff. If you just keep the conversations going a bit longer, more stuff comes out. And I really love helping people. And the best part I've got is I've got clients' families. I've got one family where I've got a brother and a wife, the sister and the mother, and they've all got insurances and mortgages. And you're invited to Christmas Eve parties and stuff. And that's when your business is doing truly well. So it's a fantastic business to be in. It's great when you know that you've found your place in the world, and that you've truly got what you call it, because you love it so much that you like coming into your office in the morning, and it's a happy place. And I truly love my business, and I'm looking forward to getting and keeping going in the future. I'm really happy with Let's Talk Mortgages and Insurance. And I'm in Auckland in New Zealand, but clients are everywhere, all over New Zealand, and that's me.
Everybody, that is Sarah. Now, on her business card, it has Chief Talker, and you could probably guess the cap fits, I think the phrase is.
It does. It does, but it's pretty cool, right? Who needs to just be called a CEO or a director when you can say, hey, I'm the Chief Talker?
No, absolutely perfect. Sarah, thank you very much for joining me this morning for me, and this evening for you, because there's a 12-hour difference between the pair of us. It's been absolutely lovely having you on, and I hope a lot of my listeners will gain some stuff from it. But, I'm sure we'll be speaking soon. Well, I just know we will be speaking.
If you walk the dogs and you've got to catch them when they run off chasing squirrels and stuff. Thanks for your time, and thanks for having me on your podcast, Doug. It's been great.
No problem at all. Thanks, Sarah.